Hi everyone, welcome to the second in the series of Mine My Past podcasts. And today we're talking about mining ecosystems and collaboration. And those two words may not seem logical in your mind, but hopefully by the end of this conversation they will do. I'm delighted today to be joined by Mr. Gary Lane, the president of the South African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy. So welcome, Gary, and perhaps you can just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what SAIMM is all about.
Okay, thank you, Julian. Thank you for the invite, and really looking forward to this conversation.
Absolutely.
And sharing our views. I've been involved in the mining industry as an employee for 36 years. But if I think back to when I got my bursary for Anglo-American, which got me into mining, I've actually been working in the mining industry for 40 years. So it's been an incredible journey. The Southern African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy is a 134-year-old institute that's been serving the industry. At its core, it's a professional community of researchers, students, professionals, and the industry. And it's all about knowledge sharing, a collaboration platform, professional development, and capability development for the industry.
Right, thanks for that. Just thinking, I'm 1 year behind you, so if I count my student years, I'm 39 years in the industry, but the SAIMM outweighs both of us. And just for clarity, I mean, it says South African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy, but you don't only have mining engineers, do you? There's scientists, who can join the SAIMM?
Right. Yeah, and that's such an important question, Julie, because in fact I'm a civil engineer. So I'm not even so I actually reminded,
I'm just a scientist, so don't worry.
So I reminded my council that I'm the first civil engineer they've ever had in 134 years.
Wow.
And I think the important point is that it's all professionals for the industry. So a mining company needs industrial engineers, electrical, civil, mechanical, environmental scientists. Yep. So it's a community for all of the skills required for the industry.
Mining. Fantastic.
Our Young Professionals Council has a chairperson that is an industrial engineer. So next year will be a lawyer. So
wow. It's
not about mining, it's the minerals industry and all professionals.
Fantastic, thanks for that. And I hope that encourages people to have a look at SAIMM.
I hope so.
Okay, Gary, so let's get into the topic of the conversation, which is about mining ecosystems and collaboration. You know, I think when most people think about the people in mining, I certainly used to think specialist engineer, specialist scientist, specialist geologist, specialist mineralogist. But given that this is a Mine My Past podcast, I was thinking about my past, and I recognized very early on that I'm really a generalist, so I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. But also what I recognized is that I'm a natural systems thinker. I see the connection in everything. And from your perspective, how does systems and mining connect in terms of people?
Okay, really good question, Julian. I mean, at the core, I'm a systems thinker myself. I mean, whenever I think of any problem, I think of how everything connects together. And if you think of the mining as a system, and probably at its most fundamental level, you only need three things for a mining operation to really excel. External, let's forget about external, but you need a resource endowment, so you've got a resource you can mine. You need all the technology, the AI, the systems, the value stream, and you need people. Those three things need to work together as a system to effectively generate value. So that's a very, very simple, high-level view of a system.
Okay, so let's just look at then what you said we need three things. What is the difference between those three things compared to those three things being part of a system?
So, I mean, if you had to look at it more broadly, I mean, if you had to go right back to the whole world is a system.
Mm-hmm.
And that system has to operate. And if any piece of the system isn't working, the overall system fails. So you need to define your overall system and then define what's the objective of the system. And within that is mining, and we can unpack that even in more
absolutely.
detail.
So I mean, would it be fair to say, and I'm taking it to the ridiculous to make a point, is the universe is a system, and there are systems of subsystems of subsystems, and you can go on forever and ever. And if I heard you correctly, I mean, it's actually about the connection. So there's elements in the system, but it's actually about the connection between the elements that is most important and that differentiates from sort of static components to being a living system. Am I correct in that
100%.
interpretation?
So when you think about a mining company, look at all the different departments.
Yeah.
You know, all the departments are different silos, but all of that actually needs to fit together into a system for it to effectively perform. And an important part is the feedback loop.
Right.
So only any system, if you really want the system to develop and improve and self-heal, needs a feedback loop. Now that's either an explicit feedback loop or it's built into the way that you run that system.
I love the way you express that. For any system to heal itself, it needs feedback loops. So that would be, in my language, a virtuous cycle of improvement all the time. But I think we also have to acknowledge, particularly in mining, the vicious cycle where the feedback loops can actually create these spirals of downward performance. And so it's really important that we get the interventions in the right place to change those effects, because I think what people may not, and we'll talk about it a bit later, but the whole thing about systems is there's causality. There's this element here, there's a connection, and there's an element here, and depending on that relationship, because it's actually about relationships, which links to our collaboration theme, and depending on the nature of that relationship, if this element changes one way, this element might change the same way or the other way. And so how do we, so if everything is a system, how do you define the problem that you're wanting to address? Because you could just keep going forever. It's one of the problems I have when I'm reading, because I go down these 500 different avenues of thought, as do you.
So, I mean, fundamentally, you've got to understand your system that you're looking at.
Yeah.
And map that system. And understand the system boundaries and understand what the purpose of that system is. You could map an individual company's or individual mining company's system, drill, blast, load, haul, process, and all the interconnections. Or you could map the mining industry as a system in the context of South Africa.
Right.
So it all comes down back to systems thinking.
Yep.
And what are all the individual components and how they fit together to sustain that system's purpose.
Right.
If you break one of them, the system starts to fail.
Right.
And you see it in South Africa where we've got no exploration investment. The reason we have no investment in exploration is we've actually broken the system. And the system's broken at a legislative perspective, so investment's not coming in. That is going to play through over the next decade if we don't get that system working effectively.
Right, okay. Just a thought then, you say it's broken at the legislative level. I would also think that it's possibly, correct me or challenge me, broken at the input side, the people who are coming out of university. But before we get onto that, I just want to reflect on one thing. And I'm going to use an analogy of a car. So if we are trying to solve a systems problem, and mining is a subsystem of systems, if you use the analogy of a car, if I can hear that the exhaust is rattling, I'm not going to go and look at the engine on the car. I'm going to look at the exhaust. But I have to understand that the exhaust is attached to the engine via a whole system of mechanics. So if I'm hearing you right, the way we work with systems thinking and in problem solving is you actually have to define the problem, which then defines your system boundary. Am I right in that?
100%.
Okay.
You need to map the system, you need to understand the objective of the system, and then, and this is a rule of nature, every single system has a constraint. So something in that system constrains its ability to perform, and you need to find that constraint.
Right.
I've just been writing a presentation that I've got to give to the mining industry in Ukraine, and it's interesting. We'll talk about the constraint in the South African mining context. Theirs is completely different for different reasons, and that's so critical to understand where the constraint in that system is.
Yeah, and there's never just one.
No,
there's multiple constraints.
A dominant one, and then there's a secondary,
like a root cause constraint.
Root constraint that's impacting the ability for that system to create flow.
Yeah, and I think very importantly for systems thinking and mining is if we can address those root cause constraints, it helps mitigate the other constraints if we can get down to that real fundamental problem. And I was thinking, you said mining consists of, people and technology and the other things you said. But I think we must also never forget the environment's part of the ecosystem of mining, because we are working within natural systems. We are part of a natural system ourselves. And we need to find that balance in the system. And I think this is where we're going to talk about the collaboration and the relationships between the economic side, the technical side, the human side, the environmental side, the social side. And so I would almost refer to it as a value flow for mining, because fundamentally what we need is the minerals and the metals. Mining is currently the way we get that. And so the aim or the purpose, maybe, as you expressed, of mining is to supply modern life with minerals and metals. Yes?
No, 100%. I mean, if you think about it, someone says, well, what's the purpose of mining? And someone's going to say, to increase shareholder value. That's not the reason for mining.
No.
The ultimate purpose of mining is that there's a broader thing that says the world is going to need critical minerals in the next decade due to all of our changes in how we generate power, our EV batteries, copper, all of the critical minerals. So it's actually to meet a global human drive. That's the ultimate external factor that's driving the mining industry's system ultimately.
Right.
And your point about all of the environmental system, the socio-economic system, the technology system, the governance system, all of those are part of the mining system.
Right.
And they've all got to work in harmony with the right interconnections and feedback loops for that to sustain itself. So if you think about it, if you talk about critical minerals, that's an external signal. External signal globally is saying there's an increase in demand, for example, to copper. They're expecting copper to use more copper in the next decade than we've ever used
before.
in history.
Yes.
Now, mining's a long-term game. It takes 10, 15 years to sink a shaft. Capability development takes a long time. So all those bits have to respond to that external signal. So it means there's a signal to investors to spend more money on exploration. There's a signal to the country to start investing money in infrastructure.
Right.
If you do not get those right, you will not benefit from the critical minerals demand.
Right.
And that's how that overall system
systems work. I find you use the word harmony, and I find that fascinating because I think most people think about mining as just this linear process of, as you said, dig, load, blast, etc., produce. But the reality is the mining value flow has to work in harmony, which means it's flexible. It has to be flexible. It has to be responsive. And you talked about one of the drivers, and I'm going to take us back to that human side, because one of the drivers is the skills, the capacity, the capability of the people coming into the sector. So I'd like to hear your views on that as a driver of the future of the mining industry.
Yeah, that's
the mining system, sorry.
A really good question. I mean, I've spent the last 7 months as president of SAIMM really talking to the industry. I wanted to understand where is our constraint. We spoke about those 3 elements: resource endowment, all the technology, and people. The constraint's actually on the people side.
Okay.
We've got the resources. We're well endowed in South Africa. Yes, we haven't got the exploration, but that's not the challenge. We've had all the technology, the innovation, and there are constraints there around innovation, but it's linked to skills development. And the biggest issue that I'm hearing from all the CEOs and all the industry, and it's not just South Africa, Australia is sitting with the same issue, is we have an aging cohort of experienced professionals that are all retiring over the next decade.
Like you and me.
Like you and I. We probably can't retire. Not really allowed to retire. And the pipeline feeding it is actually broken.
Right.
So we're not developing industry-ready, capable professionals.
Okay.
There's some incredible work being done in silos, but it's completely fragmented. And that proper development pipeline, as I call it, or ecosystem, is not actually working. So the constraint right now is skills development, and not degrees. We actually, because people say, well, we got double the amount of degrees in mining that we can actually employ. So there's no problem. No, there is a problem. They're graduating and there's no capability development pipeline to get them into being a registered professional capable to add value to the mining industry.
And I think you've made a very important distinction there between capacity and capability.
100%.
So when you leave with your degree, you have some capacity, but your capabilities are very low.
100%.
And you said that the constraint is on the people, and I think this is where I'd like to introduce the thoughts around collaboration, because collaboration, you know, if you draw it in a systems diagram, it's just a line with a directional causal flow. But when you think about the mining system in relation to people, it is all actually about relationships. It's relationships with people, it's relationships with technology, it's connections, relationships with the environment, relationships with yourself, let's face it. And you said, you know, we're producing engineers or scientists or whatever. And I'd like to share a story I read on LinkedIn last night. And it just struck me in terms of our conversation, where what this person was saying is that we take a first-time engineer, we put him or her on a site. He or she gets a phone call 2:30 in the morning, there's been a catastrophe on the mine. And he hops in his car, often drives a couple of hours because he's not always really on site, and he's got the GM on the phone, you know, asking what's wrong in very strong language. That was in the post. And that he or she may be technically competent to deal with the crisis, but they aren't being trained to deal with the human side, the emotional side, the physical injury, and just the sheer panic that happens in a mining disaster. So let's talk about collaboration or connection, whatever you feel you want to run with, in terms of we're not just employing engineers and scientists, we're employing human beings.
No, exactly. You know, and there's a big emphasis on technical skill.
Yeah.
So you spend 4 years in your undergrad, you're going to then maybe do a postgrad, but very much around technical skills. But the industry needs people that, and maybe there's a better term for it. I know people call it soft skills, maybe it's enduring skills or smart skills. There's skills around systems thinking, being able to understand the overall system, how flow works, the interpersonal relationship side, the safety, the environment. All of those things are so critical to the industry, so that we've got a person that knows how to respond. Because I reckon that most projects and organizations do not perform to their optimal, not because we don't have the technical skill.
Right.
I think we've got the technical skill. You can train the technical skill.
Yeah.
It's the skill around how do you make effective decisions with a group of people? What are the decision frameworks? What are the mental models we use? Because there's egos, there's emotion, there's historical context. All of that has to play in.
There's humanity, in other words.
I spent 2 days now in Limpopo designing a new mining engineering degree with a great team of people. But again, very much driven by what the Engineering Council of South Africa's engineering requirements are around technical skill. We need to supplement that with a lot of the other skill requirements around leadership and all of that as well.
Yeah.
Which is critical.
And look, it doesn't only count for engineers. I mean, I think it could count for lawyers, for doctors even. But you mentioned in a previous conversation, you know, we need to be training people at university to become better observers. So, for example, understanding what you need to notice in a mining environment. So let's say safety. I mean, I'm wearing long skirt trousers today. As I was walking up the stairs, I knew I had to lift it up because otherwise I'd trip, because it's been, you know, after 39 years, I get it. But we should be training people to be able to observe safety issues, observe environmental issues from the first day they step into varsity. Would you agree? Because that's the systems thinking.
Yes. So what's very interesting, we had this exact conversation when I spent the 2-day workshop. We had industry representatives, and in fact 2 very incredible young mining engineering ladies. And they said, all we really need is we need people to understand the mining technical side. We need systems thinking, so we understand the system.
Right.
And we need an understanding of all of the safety and environmental side of it, okay? They shouldn't be introduced to safety only after they graduate. Because look, in mining, we're incredible. I mean, mining has built safety into the way we behave.
Yes.
I mean, immediately I said to the 2 young mining engineers, so look in this room, where have we got safety issues, and no one can pick it up, but the 2 mining engineers said, there we go, 2 tripping hazards.
2 tripping hazards,
now,
yeah.
Why can't that start at varsity? So when you're in first,
Yeah.
second, third year varsity, we could already be teaching them about safety behavior
Yeah.
and awareness, so that it is inherent in how we think when we get
Absolutely.
into our jobs.
Yeah,
We're doing well in mining already, but we can even go better
absolutely.
if we start from first year.
And it's interesting that you said you were talking with 2 female engineers, because I think, obviously, given the imperative for women in mining, and we're talking about mining as an ecosystem, and there are elements and components, how do women fit into the mining system? Should it be in any different way?
So I don't think it should be any different way. I think that this is part of this whole thing around what does the mine of the future require.
Right.
Because if you think about the different skills and capability that a female mining or engineer brings versus
Yeah.
a man, and the focus on community, people, leadership, technical skills, that needs a completely diverse team of people that needs both those perspectives.
Right.
So a male-dominated industry will not meet the requirements of the future industry.
Right.
And what's incredible is the shift is happening, and we've got some numbers we can share, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
I think the last number I saw, and at one of the universities, is that 55% of their engineering first years is women. I mean, if I go back to 1987, when I did first year, there were 2 female geologists in my class, and I was one of them.
That's right.
So it is a big difference. And I've often said I'm very grateful to be a woman in mining, because especially on the health and safety side, I remember an intervention I had to make, and I walked away literally thinking, I'm so pleased I'm a woman in mining because I'm allowed to show I care. Now, let's talk about care and collaboration. Is there any relationship between care and collaboration?
Most definitely. I mean, we to be able to collaborate effectively, you've got to care, because you've got to care about
the relationship, right?
You've got to build the trust, because collaboration takes effort. It's not a word. I mean, I always joke with my team, I have to drink one hell of a lot of caffeine and coffee in my collaboration, because that's what I do. It's what I've done in the last 7 months.
Yeah.
I've been collaborating broadly with the industry, which means it's not just one-off. It's working it, it's putting the timing, having the hours, caring about the conversation, and caring about the greater good, which is the industry and South Africa and the whole of the earth.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's important to recognize that collaboration is, let's face it, we collaborate with technology as well. And so we have a relationship with technology, and our whole mindset affects that relationship. And when you think about the difficulties of technology adoption in mining, it's precisely because of those human factors and the systems factors, like the business readiness, the systems readiness. We can't just produce a piece of technology, plug it in, and expect people to use it, because the system, including the people, the on-site systems, and even the business, even the market might not be ready. So when we talk collaboration, it's not only between people, it's between people and things. And what you said right back at the beginning is, if any one of those things break, the whole system falls down. So maybe is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I'm going to make quite a general statement
here,
but
sure.
People can challenge me. We have been very poor at implementing new technology in mining. And it's interesting, it's not a South African only challenge, it is global. We're getting better at it. And we're prepared to spend money on new software, new silver shiny equipment and all of that stuff, but we don't actually realize that the overall system requirements to get a new piece of technology implemented, the redesign of the operating model, and the change, and people call it change management, but it's far more involved in that. It's
Yeah.
changing the way we work, how we operate, what our business processes are, what questions we ask of the organization. We don't invest in that.
Right.
We do not we underestimate the effort required on the people side. It's almost people first, technology second, and we do.
Spot on.
So if you go to a executive with some fancy new dashboard with some great metrics, they will be very excited to buy it. If you go to them and say, we're going to redesign your operating model to make better decisions, you won't sell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, that's what's going to change the organization, not that.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to have that debate with you.
No, I agree. And I mean, it's interesting you say that, because at the Mandela Mining Precinct, as you know, being a research, development and innovation organization, we literally put everything as people-centric. People have to come first. I mean, if I came along and handed you my phone and just said, use it, I mean, you know how to use a phone, but you don't know the detail of my phone. And yet we expect people just to pick up a new drill or a new wearable and just do it. So Gary, I think this is a great place to wrap up part one of this podcast, because we've really identified many of the elements of the mining ecosystem, fundamentally starting with people. And in part two, we're going to move into some of the more technological discussions and the whole issue about change in systems. So is there anything you'd like to say to finish up this part of the
No,
podcast?
really looking forward to having a conversation more around the people capabilities and stuff, which is the real constraint currently in our industry globally.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an
Indeed.
interesting
Thank you
conversation.
for the opportunity. Looking forward to the continued conversation.
Great.
Thank you.